Hariom everyone, welcome to this class on Kathopnishad. So we'll start with the chanting first and then I'll chant at my end. You can chant at your end. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Gananam Tva Ganpatigam Havamahe Kavim Kavinam Upamashavastamam Jeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Ana Shinvanutibi Sid Sadhanam. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So welcome to this class on Kathopnishad. We have completed 32 classes by now and we are into this 33rd class. And so we'll start. This text is divided into two parts, do adhyay, each having 3 chapters. So 3 valli. So do adhyay, 3 valli, har ek adhyay mein. So this is 6 chapters, you can say, 6 valli isme hai. So we are approaching almost the end and we have looked at the initial portion of the first 3 chapters where the Atma was enumerated and then the detailed sadhana is coming here. So in this final part, we are looking at the sadhana that comes after the Atma Jnanam or the knowledge has been enumerated so that the knowledge can be absorbed and we can focus enough to make that knowledge our own. It just not remain just like an academic knowledge, right? So we were at the 9th verse and we're not finished it because I just looked through in short. So I'll just go back to the 8th verse for a bit, just revise a little bit, then we can move on. So avyaktat tu paraf purushaha vyapakah linga evacha yam gyatva muchyate jantuhu amritatvam cha gacchati. So this is the 8th verse where finally we are learning to merge the this Atma, merge everything into the Atma. So this is the final order of subtlety. Yeah? The Atma is the final order of subtlety. Nothing is more subtle than the Atma. Or nothing that can indicate it or point towards it. Or you can say nothing is more all-pervading. So knowing this, the one being goes into immortality. It is said here, Jantuhu Amritatvam cha gacchati. So basically the process that is described in this verse and the previous verse is that you slowly separate the sense organs. So from your Atma, from the self, slowly separate the sense organs from the Atma and then describing these conditionings, this upadhi. So all these sense organs are conditioning superimposed on the Atma. Because the self is one, it is undivided. So it cannot have any divisions. So any divisions are just like a projection. So this we call as upadhi. So when we function through that upadhi, we think ourselves as limited. So what is the upadhi? The mind, body and so on. The gross body, the subtle body and the causal body. Right? So now we have to learn to separate ourselves from this conditioning so that the Atma we reach as the final end, at the final end beyond any conditioning. So now this soul actually is totally free by nature. But by association with the conditioning, this body, it appears born. So we experience both these things simultaneously. In normal life, एक साथ हमें अनुभव होता है. So the natural freedom of the soul and the bindings of the sense organs. एक साथ हमें अनुभव होता है. Because we experience ourselves as I am. So that is always there. And yet we attach it to the conditioning. I am this, I am that, and so on. So we are free with the respect to the knowledge, which is the ever knowing knowledge, but we are bound with respect to the sense organs and objects. तो उस दृष्टि से हम बंधे हुए हैं सेंस ऑर्गन्स हमारी जो इंद्रियां हैं, लेकिन आत्म की दृष्टि से हम सदैव मुक्त हैं. वी आर ऑलवेज फ्री. So now the controller of all these upadhis is what? Is the when the universe is manifest at the total level there is the universal mind. We call that Hiranyagarbha. So Hiranyagarbha is the controller of all these upadhis. वो ही इन सारों को धारण करता है, the total mind. So it is the holder of the total creation or samashti. So every individual is also under its control, under the control of Ishwar, you can say, or the mind of Ishvara is Hiranyagarbha. So what happens when the universe dissolves? That universal dissolution is pralayam. So in that pralayam also, the witness or the knower of the pralaya is there. That is the Atma, and that is the Sakshi Atma. Okay, so it is difficult to dissociate from all the conditionings together. एक साथ हम लोग नहीं कर सकते. Difficult to dissociate from them in one go. But it is easier to do so one by one. That is why this process is there in these two mantras. One by one we negate from the sense organs onto the mind, then the buddhi, and then we finally go from the individual to the total level. So there we reach for the Hiranyagarbha and so on to finally Atma. So this, what we call the sequential separation, it brings subtleness to the intellect. बुद्धि को एक गहराई में जाने की आदत पड़ जाती. It gets used to going to in depth when we follow this process. If we go directly, it won't be able to absorb easily. So this sequential separation, whatever subtleness it brings to us, to the mind, through that the Atma is visualized. I am able to understand my true nature, and I am able to separate it from the different conditionings. The main conditioning, you can say, is the 5 koshas. That include the gross body, and all up to Anandamaya kosha is the Karan Sharir. So I won't repeat that. We have seen that. So whatever be the conditionings, the 5 koshas, the 3 bodies, Sthul Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, Karan Sharir. So all these we can separate. Okay, so now for knowledge, the instrument of knowledge should be in perfect condition. Because, someone who's wearing a specs, colored glasses, or you can say someone with jaundiced eye, for the jaundiced eye, everything appears yellow. We are colored, our perceptions are colored by the lenses through which we see the world. Therefore, the instrument mind should be pure. Very, very pure for this knowledge to be absorbed. So after constant practice with Viveka, what is Viveka? Separating truth from untruth. Atma, Anatma, Vivek. That is main. So what is Atma and what is not Atma? So by this Viveka, this subtle Atma can be perceived as my own nature, right? So in this way we can separate that. So now we are looking at the next verse. So न सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपमस्य न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनम् हृदा मनीषा मनसा विक्लिप्तः य एतद् विदु अमृतास्ते भवन्ति. So न सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपम अस्य. So this Atma that we are trying to visualize, its form or his form, you can say, is not within the range of vision. Na sandrishe, tishtati means to sit, but basically you can say not. It cannot be held on to. It cannot become graspable by us. So na sandrishe tishtati rupam asya. So this form of the Atma, actually what form? It has no form. So therefore it is not within the range of vision. And na chakshusha paschati kashchanana, it cannot be seen by the eyes. So by controlling the mind with the intellect, then by intuition it is revealed. So those who know this become immortal. So it is not possible to grasp the soul by the sense organs. It cannot be seen by the eyes. It is not something that can become an object to be known. इसको वस्तु की तरह नहीं देख सकते, सामने हाथ में लेके ले लिया. You put it in your hand and you see that Atma. No, you can't do that. So if it becomes an object, what will happen? It will not remain the soul. because whatever is known can never become the knower. तो जड़ हो गया. It is not sentient. So the seer cannot become known by the seen. मैं देख रहा हूं किसी वस्तु को, वो वस्तु मुझे थोड़ी जानती है. I am looking at that object, the object will not know me. So seer cannot become known by the seen. To experience this, we cannot search outside. To experience this knowledge of the Atma, we cannot search outside among the objects, or we call the Anatma. We will have to turn the vision inwards. So if you keep spending our Jnana Shakti or knowing power in external objects, it will never be available for self-knowledge. To make it available, you have to turn it inwards. नहीं तो वहीं पे खप जाएगी ना सारी energy. All your energy will be used up. Yeah. My forefathers, they migrated during the time of partition from Pakistan. So, one of my uncles who was the senior one, my dad was very, very young. So I asked him about stories about that time. So he told me once about this. There is a Hindu guy there who owned many trucks. He had a fleet of trucks. And he was in that part of Pakistan during the partition. Okay, so he thought that कुछ नहीं होगा, we won't have to leave, सब ठीक हो जाएगा. So what happened is he used his trucks to make money. He used the trucks to transport the goods for other people. But later on, they learned that when the time came, his trucks were elsewhere, and he couldn't even carry his own belongings. He lost his trucks. Ultimately, he just escaped with the rest of materials. So therefore, having something is not enough. आपके पास है, लेकिन it should be available to carry out the main task when we need it. You should have it. So if you are continually engrossed in transacting with objects, this question about who I am, who am I, this will never arise. हम उसमें ही मस्त हैं बाहर. So for a person, it will come to you only when you sometime contemplate, sometime you meditate, then only. So it cannot be analyzed or answered. Vivek, Abhyas, or Niruddha, detached mind are necessary to enter this discipline. It cannot come on its own. Suddenly it comes. So you need a step-by-step approach, the fierce desire, and then you will develop Vivek, or the ability to discriminate between truth and untruth, or wrong and unwrong, or real and unreal, whichever way you put it. And then you will need constant practice. And then finally a detached mind, Niruddha. So this detached mind is necessary to enter this discipline. So turning the mind towards subtle topics makes it subtle too. You practice in other fields also. So it will help you. Not just subtle particles, not like you look into the microscope and see the small particles. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It is to grasp the subtleness of any conversation or any topic. So suddenly knowing something subtle is not very easy. Let's take a simple concept. I gave you this example in other classes also. To teach the kids about numbers. Numbers are an abstract concept. We use gross objects like marbles, beads, fruits. Then slowly they learn to conceptualize it. So really speaking, describing numbers in language is not easy for grown-ups also. In the same way, if you take some pairs of knowledge, the knowledge of an object like pot knowledge, or the knowledge of a cloth, so that is cloth knowledge. Or we can take a pair with joy. So किसी भी चीज को enjoy करने से जो आनंद आता है, joy of eating laddu or whatever my favorite sweet, or the joy of music, listening to music. So any knowledge associated with objects and joy is available to everyone. But that objectless joy, that is what we have to strive for here. The objectless joy, जहां मुझे कोई वस्तु की आवश्यकता ना हो, उस आनंद को जानने. So that objectless joy, knowledge and existence is very, very subtle. And it is not available suddenly, but with lots of practice. So Hrida here means not available to the senses, that is, it can't be seen. And Manisha means the subtleness of the knowledge. So Manisha is the subtleness of the knowledge. Okay, so so when we enter into this knowledge, what is being said here? Hrida, Manisha, Manasa, Abhikliptaha, Ye Etad Viduhu. So Brahman, then that Atma or that Brahman or that infinite reality, it has to be known with the help of the intellect alone, right? With the help of intellect alone. So don't try to set aside the intellect. Don't try to set aside the intellect. Don't think of what we say transcending the intellect. Intellect is the instrument required for Brahmajnana. And we discussed earlier also this point that because elsewhere the Upanishad also says mind cannot know it. And here the Upanishad says mind alone has to know. Same contradiction has come earlier also. So there also it was resolved that the resolution is that when we say that the mind cannot know, we mean unprepared mind cannot. Unprepared mind cannot. So we do not say mind is required or destroyed. There are very big misconceptions like Manonash. By Manonash, Atma will come out. Therefore, you should not destroy the mind. You cannot also. You cannot also. So therefore, use your mind, use your intellect which is polished. You can say the prepared intellect, which is referred to here as Hrida Manisha. And Shankaracharya Bhagavan also comments upon the word Manisha in the Bhashyam as Vikalpa Varjita Buddhaya. I'm not taking the Bhashyam because that makes it too extended and there's too much technical stuff there. But just I touch on the points whenever required. So Vikalpa Varjitaya Buddhaya, a mind which is focused or which is deep, which has the listening skill. So mind which has got that absorbed attention span, that mind can grasp the teaching. At the end of Shravanam itself also, it can happen. So it should die to the external world and it should be deep and focused for a length of time. So you can say that the Manonash you can apply as not focused onto the external world. So that is called Hrida Manisha. And not only the intellect is enough, Manasa Abhiklipta. So that the Brahman which is Abhiklipta is to be revealed or lighted or illumined, which is lighted up or illumined by proper understanding. And here that Samyak Darshanam, that means the torchlight, the light that is shown by the Guru. So Guru Upadesh becomes the lighting and the focused mind becomes the observer. So intellect also is required and somebody has to light up also. So the lighting job is done by the Guru because he has got the torchlight of Shastra and Shishya doesn't have the torchlight. So therefore the torchlight is called the methodology. So I'm not saying just Guru, but Sampradaya. Sampradaya. It comes down through the teaching, comes down through the chain of Gurus. No? So the Sampradaya is called the torch lit by that. So, Manasa Abhikliptaha, Abhiprakashitaha, you can say, Etat Yeviduhu, the one who knows. So, earlier we saw the example of a mirror also. Now, mirror is required to see your own eyes, right? So, and if you have to see your own eyes, both conditions are important. A mirror must be there, and mirror alone is not enough. You should have functioning eyes also. So if the eyes are not functioning, mirror is useless. Eyes are functioning, but mirror is not there. Then also useless. So eyes should be there as well as the mirror. So both when conjoined, you can see your own eyes. Similarly, Guru Shastra Upadesh is the mirror or the qualified intellect is what we call the Jnana Chakshu. Your eye of knowledge is open. So when both of them are there, Etat Yevidu, then you will have this knowledge. So then, and what will I get out of that knowledge? Te amritaha bhavanti. They become immortal or they own up to the immortality which is their nature. They own up to it because immortality is not something that comes to you. Otherwise it will go away also. It is something you discover. It is your nature. So te amritaha bhavanti. So next we'll move on to the next verse. यदा पंचावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टेते कामाहुः परमां गतिम्. Once more. यदा पंचावतिष्ठन्ते ज्ञानानि मनसा सह बुद्धिश्च न विचेष्टेते कामाहुः परमां गतिम्. So यदा Panchavatishtate. So when these five, pancha is used for the Jnanendriyas, the sense organs, and avatishtante, when they are totally, you can say, stable and not moving, running around. And what else? Jnanani cha manasasaha, with the mind also. So the mind is also in the state of, you can say, detachment. So here the highest state of the detached mind is being described. And in the next verse, the union or the yoga will be described. So when the five organs come to rest along with the mind and intellect, so none of them are now running around. And they have ceased their working. So that meditative state, buddhischa na viteshte tam ahu, that state, that is paramam gati. That is the state of liberation or the highest state. So this state of withdrawal, no, this is the state of withdrawal. I am withdrawing my mind. Mind is not now running around. It is not active. So this state of withdrawal is meant to be practiced in seclusion. इसको initially at least initially it has to be practiced in seclusion and not meant to be understand through thought. So thought आपने छोड़ देना है. Only thought is I aham brahmasmi, the Mahavakya, single pointed thought. So therefore the best place to do it is in solitude. इसको करना होता है एकदम शांत. So if you see the Gita 6th chapter, all the conditions are mentioned that we should go to a place where there is no wind also. So go to a place where there is no disturbances, any kind of disturbances. Just like the example is given of the deepak of a lamp, which is there in a windless place. So there its flame does not flicker. So the best place to do it is in solitude, because initially, what happens, that the sense organs will distract. When even when we are meditating, our ears are open, so even our skin can feel sensations. So mainly the ears. So because of that, our mind runs around. And sometimes even without those inputs, the mind goes to some other object. So when there is a practice of withdrawal in the absence of any distractions, then the mind can be made firm. Then after extending that state to a longer period, then you try to draw away from those distractions and you have succeeded there, then you can slowly meditate in any place. Then once you have practiced firmly, a person of a person who has purified his mind, he can meditate even among a crowd. So just like if you have to understand musical notes, then you go to a studio or enclosed place, and then you can sing there. So when you practice there, disturbances is not there. So once that music is perfected, then you can even sing anywhere else, in the open also. So the senses, when regulated first, can be tested same way in other conditions also. First you regulate in some place where they are not running around. So the initial sadhak will not succeed if he practices among distractions. So the senses are used to for the transactions with the worldly objects. So senses you keep using for worldly transactions. And breaking that habit is not easy. It's not at all easy. All the time it is not a habit of few days or few weeks. It is a habit of so many janmas. So, but if we reduce the new transactions, abhi ke liye kaat, if we reduce new transactions, then old impressions or samskaras can slowly be weaned away. Slowly they can be depleted. So if you don't operate an instrument for a long time, the habit also goes away and it has to be taught again. So even if the mind desires outer contact, it is cut off because there is no contact happening. Contact is not happening. So in that way, we are able to control that mind. So this meditation, which we call with a deep and total mind, it has got where we have got 100% attention or focusing capacity without any distraction. So to develop such an intellect, what the thing needed is that connection, yoga abhyas. So it's talked about in the Veda itself, yoga abhyas, this yogic discipline. It has also been developed into a very well-designed system by Patanjali Rishi. Patanjali Rishi has in the form of Ashtanga Yoga. So we have the eightfold yogic path where you have Yam, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dhyan, Dharana, Samadhi. All the eightfold. We have talked about this earlier also. So this Ashtanga Yoga is accepted for not just meditation but for fixing the mind once the knowledge has happened. You see what happens is this knowledge is there. But when we learn to practice through meditation and go to the state of samadhi, what are we actually doing? We are ensuring that this knowledge is something I can hold on to. इसको मैं पकड़ के रख सकता हूँ या रख सकती हूँ. So once I hold on to this knowledge, then I can test myself, yes, that this will not leave me easily. Then more and more practice happens. For the Jnani, it is always there, whatever is looking at. In this Ashtanga Yoga, we talk about the culmination of the meditation exercise or as a total absorption in a chosen field or object. So therefore, in Ashtanga Yoga, the yoga or that connection with God or the highest or my own nature, whichever way you want to call it, is defined as a meditational exercise, which we call culminating in the, what is the highest one? In योग लास्ट में क्या है? सबसे लास्ट में yes, I just told
Samadhi.
samadhi. Yes, right. Simple, but so they call it as the last stage actually is called nirvikalpa samadhi. Right? Very good, Anita. Thank you. So which can be translated as absorption in a chosen field. So this yoga abhyas is accepted as one of the disciplines to sharpen the intellect. But if we take purely in the case of Ashtanga Yoga, the object of meditation is generally in the form of various chakras in the body. So you focus on those chakras, you understand the devatas of the chakra, then you move from the lower to the higher, which involves basically giving up your identifications. So there you take the support of the different Devis and Devatas, the different powers that can guide you on your journey. So generally that part of yoga in if we call Vedant, basically step by step we don't follow because we are not going to go into the chakra meditation. Of course, it is not disallowed, but you can do without that also. So we don't criticize that. We are not dismissing that. So we are not against that, but we say we don't require it necessarily. So what do? We club this yoga abhyas along with upasana. We practice the same meditation, but instead of choosing the chakra, make it simpler. We choose any devta, whatever be your ishta devta, as an object of meditation, like Rama, Krishna, Devi, Vinayak, anyone. So it depends, no? Whoever is, whichever is your favorite devta, you will have to have that connection. So it is easier. You have been with that Dev Bhav for so many, such a long time. No? So whoever has whatever bhava, of course, you can have towards multiple devtas also. Now, that is also not a problem. But sometimes happen, like I was doing my morning puja once, so I am worshipping Krishna. So now I have a set of verses I chant, I do the process accordingly. One day I told my son, yes, sit down with me, you will be going abroad for very soon, so you should learn this. And after chanting, he told, shouldn't you start with Ganpati Vandana? So I said, yes, that is right. So his thought is on the Devta, he follows or someone he is more connected to. So, okay, I said, okay, I'll start with that, my mistake. So we learn. So in sadhana, whatever we learn daily. So this Saguna Ishvara Dhyanam we have to go for. It is mixed with the yoga abhyas to develop this qualification of Chitta Samadhana, the focusing faculty of the mind. So we have seen this in the earlier part also, no? The Shamadhi, we have what are the Sadhan Chatushtaya, Vivek, Vairagya, Shamadhi Shat Sampatti and Mumukshutvam. So out of that, the Shamadhi Shat Sampatti has 6 parts. So what are those 6? Shama, Dama, Uprati, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhana. So that Samadhanam, that final one, the focusing capacity or the one-pointed concentration, which is one of the Sadhan Chatushtaya Sampatti. So that is developed through Yoga Abhyas, or you can say Samadhi Abhyas. So with this Samadhi practice, this self-knowledge that we gained through Guru Shastra Updesha or Vedanta Shravanam, that we have to fix. So knowledge is not coming through Samadhi Abhyas. It's not that you sit down and that is why some people say, why you not teaching meditation? No, you have to go for that later on. So maybe very soon we can start in the morning. So this Samadhi Abhyas or Ashtanga Yoga or Upasana, then what is the purpose of this? This is for fixing the mind. So fixing, or basically you can say that the mind has to be turned into a very sharp instrument, of this knowledge, right? So mind has to be turned into a very sharp instrument of this knowledge. So this samadhi abhyas is neither for jnanam or nor it is for moksha, but only to polish our instrument. And also we don't, in Vedanta, we don't prescribe this for mystic experience. You can do for mystic experiences when you are looking for some deeper connection, something to maybe strengthen your faith. Yeah? So because no, according to Vedanta, mystic experiences have nothing to do with spiritual knowledge or liberation. We should be very clear and careful about these things, that we are not dismissing mystic experiences. We accept all the possibilities of all forms of mystic experience, but we say it is not very, very necessary, you can say, for spiritual knowledge or liberation. So a person can be happily liberated without going through any of the mystic experience. Someone who has had no mystic experience also, he can be happily liberated. Only thing he requires, purity. Purity is a must. So he requires a focusing capacity. He should be able to follow the Shastric teaching and gain the wisdom. Okay. So that wisdom is more than enough for happily being liberated. And if a person has gone through mystic experiences, we are not against. Just like if someone of you can sing very well. So I'm going to say that if you have singing as a qualification, then it's very good. But I can't say this singing is qualification for Vedanta, or it has no connection to understanding. But anyone who has a musical bent of mind naturally has a tendency to focus. So you can use that. So Vedanta and so similarly mystic experiences, we say nothing to do with either knowledge or liberation. Therefore, samadhi abhyas is not for jnanam. Samadhi abhyas is not for moksha. It is not even for mystic experiences. It is meant for preparing the mind. So therefore, Yamadharmaraja here talks about yoga in these two mantras. So he talks about the culmination or yoga abhyas or culmination of yoga abhyas or upasana. So the culmination is absorption in the object of meditation. So if you are visualizing Ram Bhagwan, Ram or Krishna, you can eventually get absorbed, and you can absorb to such an extent that you are dead to the surroundings. कुछ भी आपको बाहर का नहीं आभास होगा. You will have no experience of other things. So in fact, you can have this in any field, not just Lord. Someone is playing chess. He can be absorbed in the game. He will not even know. So therefore, some of them, they lose a lot of weight also. Someone who's being focusing so long. So therefore, whatever field you choose to take it up to, you will have to, you can use it. So if you do samadhi abhyas, it will help you in all the fields of your life. So in Gita also I was talking about, no? So there the verse is also there, no? So yatha deepo nivastasto nengate sopamasmrita yogino yatta chittasya yunjato yogam atmana. So like a flame which is kept in a windless place remains without flickering. Similarly, the mind of the meditator remains in the object without flickering into the other fields, wherever it runs around. No? So that samadhi is described here. Pancha jnanani avatishtante, as the culmination of this meditation, otherwise called upasana or jnanani. So the 5 sense organs are here the jnanani, or the 5 organs of knowledge. So jnanam here is this is not knowledge. Jnanam here is not, jnanani is not knowledge, but the jnanendriya. And then what's that? Manasasaha, along with the mind. Avatishtante. So remaining without any distractions, without fluttering, without restlessness, this mind has to be conquered. So both the mind and the sense organs remain avatishtante. They are situated in a calm place. And not only the mind and sense organs are absorbed, Buddhischana vicheshtante. The intellect also does not think. So we saw earlier also. So it remains focused, converged, or absorbed. Very still, you can say. You don't call it thoughtless. There is one thought here. Remember that. The thought that I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. So whatever be the Mahamantra you can choose. So it has got only one thought, which we call it Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha or Sajatiya Pratyaya Pravaha. So the same thought is repeated. So this state of absorption is also divided into 2, which we call the Savikalpa and Nirvikalpa. So whenever a Savikalpa is there, it is with some object of meditation like the Mahamantra or the form of the Lord and so on. Nirvikalpa, where you then ultimately drop. drop that also. So, and only I am Atma remains, not in form of words, but as an understanding. So as a result of this deliberate absorption, when it becomes natural and spontaneous absorption, or like you can say, we don't require the will. आपको कुछ करना नहीं पड़ रहा है. It should happen. No, it's like you slip into sleep. You go naturally into sleep. Na? You don't have to. In fact, when you are making the effort, you will not find. You'll find you will not be able to sleep. So same way in samadhi also, when you go, that will stops. Will has receded because mind is naturally in that calm state. So this is the nirvikalpa samadhi, and here it is called the paramam gati, the highest goal of yoga abhyas. So it's not the highest goal of life, moksha, but it is the stabilizing of that knowledge. So once you have this faculty, the function of yoga abhyas is over. Then what you have to do with a well-equipped mind? Then you fix your whatever you studied, Vedant, Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasnam, whatever you did, that has to be fixed. So in this way, and then we move to the actual yoga. So tam yogam miti manyante sthiram indriya dharanam apramattastada bhavati yogo hi prabhavapyayo. So काम योगमिति मन्यन्ते स्थिरामिन्द्रिय धारणम् अप्रमत्तस्तदा भवति योगो हि प्रभवाप्ययो. So now we are looking at tam yogam iti manyante, that state of absorption, that yoga, that state of absorption which is mentioned in the previous mantra, or is also called yoga. Yogam iti manyante, that has been said by the people who meditate or the wise people. So this practice here is called yoga. The destiny. So here the practice is also yoga. The destination also finally is yoga. What is the destination? Connecting to my own nature, or even in the case of Saguna Upasana, connecting to my Ishta Devta. So here the means is also called yoga. The end is also called yoga. So here the word refers to the end, which is the absorption of the mind in this verse. So that's samadhi. So yogam iti manyante. This is equal to the state of absorption or the nirvikalpa samadhi. And absorption of what? Sthiram indriya dharanam. All the sense organs are sthiraha, means unwavering or unflickering or undistracted, or at rest. So therefore indriya dharana, all the sense organs are kept silent. So it is not enough that you quieten, but they should remain quiet for a length of time. Therefore, sthiram indriya dharana is called samadhi. So, and when a person is trying to focus the mind, initially he will not be able to focus. It is a difficult task. For many people, focusing takes place, but they are not able to retain. Focus. So any sound or anything happens, like we are having a class and some disturbance happens, they get disturbed. They notice somebody comes late and sits, enters the class, and you watch who's come. So therefore, it has to be focused where when the teaching is going on, nothing else. So there was a story about Swami Chinmayanand. So he was teaching in Uttar Kashi, and all the brahmacharis were there. So this was narrated by one of the brahmacharis. So he said that Swamiji was teaching us, and nearby there was a military camp. So some of the army officers also, they used to come. Okay. So one class was going on, and those officers, they came from behind, and they have shoes on mostly. So, and they sit there on the chairs and all. So they came and with their shoes on, and the shoe sound came, tap, tap, tap. And some of the students, they turned around to look at it. And then at once Swamiji was very angry. He said, "Stop it. No one should turn that way. If you are in the class, you cannot even dare to look away." And Swamiji, was very, very, very stern. He was, whatever he's teaching, he was smiling all the time, sometimes laughing. But when it came to seriousness, he demanded seriousness, right? So, therefore, even if the whole sky comes down, once the class is started, until Purnamadaha, your mind should not go anywhere, right? So if you can do that, you've got a mind which is your instrument. But the problem is that so many distractions come. So even if external ones do not come, at least internal ones will come. So we should therefore be very, very focused. Apramattah tada bhavati. Apramattah. Bilkul disturb nahi hona. And no disturbance. Not only should I focus, but until Shravanam is over, I should be able to retain the attention span, right? So we all have got attention span. We just need to expand. We just need to widen it. Right? So initially it is difficult, but once done, apramatta tada bhavati, apramatta bhavati. One should be alert to avoid the distractions. So in Gita also, the 6th chapter is there, no? Yato nischarati manas chanchalam astiram tatastato niyamya tadatma eva vasham nayet. So whenever this mind is wandering, yato nischarati, manas chanchala astiram, this mind which is chanchala, and tatasta niyam, every moment you watch it. Every moment you watch it and control it. Niyamya, control it. Tadatma anyeva vasham nayet. Then it will not be in the control of someone else. Anya eva vasham nayet. So we, even when we were children, we all had this faculty. When children are chasing after some maybe some ant or a cockroach or busy with their favorite toy, you try to distract the child, it will never respond. He's so busy, so engrossed. So because of that, they had that focus. So we all have that absorption in the name of growth, but whatever the current state that we have got ourselves into, because of that we have lost that faculty because what we call this trying to multitask. In that multitasking, we have lost the ability of focusing. So some people proudly say that they can multitask. I assure you, it is not something to be proud of. I tell one of my stories couple of times. It has happened to me in my youth also. Like I was so engrossed that I would not notice anything happening. We got into a few very funny situations also because of that. So we all have that absorption in the mind, but it's just a matter of holding on to it or reviving it, retrieving it. So apramatta bhavati, one should be alert at the time of meditation. And why should be one so? Because yogo hi prabhava apyayo. This yoga or meditation is subject to arrival and departure. So the moment you are in the state of yoga, suddenly some disturbance comes and then the concentration drops. So therefore I should be very, very careful. Because once I am able to extend my concentration, then this flickering will stop. And since the mind is subject to flickering, one has to train the mind. One has to train the mind not to flicker. So remember, it has nothing to do with Vedanta. It is a tutorial, you can say, for practice. You practice with whatever your Ishtadevta, or you can practice with the flame. Some people do that. Or you practice with Omkar. So once you have succeeded that in the mind, then the mind is ready for Vedanta Sravanam. So therefore, Yoga Abhyas is prescribed as a part of Upasana. You can put it both ways. You can put it like mind becomes ready for Vedanta Sravanam, or the mind has done Vedanta Sravanam, and by this meditation I am able to fix it. Because this towards the end of the text, we are talking more about the knowledge has been described, and now we are talking about the fixing of the knowledge. So the more technically correct way of putting it is the knowledge can be fixed. So whenever a person like that comes to Vedanta, then he is able to get very, very quickly or able to hold on to this knowledge. If it is previously there, then all the more better. Otherwise, you can practice even after listening. So now even in the Bhashya also, Bhagavan Shankaracharyya says that Shravanam is sufficient. Shravanam is sufficient. But if I have not developed that focus capacity through Upasana and Yoga Abhyas, what I will have to do is that after Shravanam as a part of Nididhyasana, I have to practice this Yoga Abhyas. So what Yoga Abhyas I should have done before, that I have to practice later. There is a slight difference in method of the earlier and later, but basically the basic system is same. So when you practice this Yoga Abhyas later, there is only a slight difference. Instead of focusing on even the Ishta Devta or the chakras, you can focus directly on the teaching also. That is also another option, right? You go through the teaching, live it through on your mind, and then that yoga will be about getting the teaching fixed in your mind, right? So we move on to the next one. नैव वाचा न मनसा प्राप्तुं शक्यो न चक्षुषा अस्तीति भुव्यो अन्यत्र कथं तत् उपलभ्यते. नैव वाचा न मनसा प्राप्तुं शक्यो न चक्षुषा अस्तीति ब्रुवतोऽन्यत्र कथं तत् उपलभ्यते. So na vacha, this na eva vacha, this is this knowledge cannot be described only by vani, only by speech, and nor by the mind, na manasa. Praptum shakyo na chakshu, and definitely not be seen by the atma. But what is the most important thing we have to determine about this knowledge about I am Atma? Asti iti. It is definitely there. That Atma is definitely there. Iti bruvato anyatra gatam tad uplabhyate. So this is said by, if this is not agreed upon by someone else, then how will we have this? How will he have this? If you can negate this Atma itself, then as something as coming to you at the end of negating everything, then it will take you to a negative state of mind. So basically, if you look at it from the standpoint of the Atma, never, not through speech, not through mind, not through I can this be attained. Apart from that, the one who says it exists, so only to the one who says it exists, this will reveal. To none other it will be available. To none other it will be available. So meaning this Atma is available only as existence, Sat Rupena, only in the form of existence, and to no other. So even though Atma is not available as an object of perception, Atma is not available as an object of perception. As I said earlier also, कि आप उसको सामने वस्तु रूप में अनुभव नहीं कर सकते. You can't make it an object of your mind or thoughts. But it definitely exists. That does not mean that it does, because it is our natural practice also. This thing, no, we naturally think it in that way according to our mind. So the sense organs of knowledge, what are the sense of organs of knowledge? Jnanendriya. So all the 5 Jnanendriyas, then the organs of action, the Karmendriyas, then the mind, mana, and the buddhi, intellect, they cannot, all of them cannot make the self as an object. कोई भी उसको आत्मा को अपने सामने नहीं लेके आ सकता है ना. They cannot make the Atma as an object of perception. But the self should be known as how it exists. And those who don't know in this manner, the Shruti mind saying here, they are deluded. They are stupid. They are on the wrong path, rather. So what is the common thinking of any human being? We think that it is logical that objects of perception are real. जो भी दिख रहा है वो real है. And what is not perceived is unreal. जो दिख नहीं रहा वो unreal है ही नहीं. But the self is not an object. Self तो object नहीं है. Self is not an object. Hence it seems that it doesn't exist. Most people say Atma doesn't exist. What are you talking about? This is negated here. This is negated here. That even if it is not perceived, it is still exists. It still exists. How? Like we gave example earlier. So for example, however much we try to see our eye, आंख को अगर देखना है, we cannot see it directly. Can we see our own eyes directly? No. But still we know it exists. पता तो है ना है. We still know it exists. How? Directly from the act that we are seeing. मैं देख रहा हूं इसलिए आंख है. We don't need to go to a mirror to verify my eyes is there or not. We don't need to see into a mirror. No. So therefore, just the act of seeing confirms the existence of the eye. Similarly, the act of knowledge confirms that there is eye. It exists. So in the same way, existence is being perceived everywhere in the world. जहां भी देखियो existence है ना. This object exists, this book exists, this table exists, this laptop exists. You are seeing that existence everywhere. So that means if there is these all are objects, they all have a cause. They all have a cause. That means the cause of it also exists. Cause भी तो है ना. Can you answer, give me the logical reasoning for that? Why the cause should be existent. Why can't it be non-existent? What is the rule? Can this come out of non-existence? We have seen it earlier also. No? Nothing can come out of non-existence. If there is some non-existence, nothing can come out of it. No? From कुछ भी नहीं है उससे कुछ निकल के नहीं आ सकता. तो यहाँ तो हमें सब कुछ दिख रहा है. We are seeing existence. That means the cause also should be existent. That is being said here in the word. So that Sat Chit Anand Swarup, they are all available in the word. You can see Sat everywhere, existence everywhere. You can see Chit everywhere. Every perception that I am having, that Chit is there. And you can see Ananda, that Anantatvam also. That infiniteness is available in the world. So this shows that they are the cause. They are the cause. Just like you see a pot and you see the mud in the pot. Mud bhi dikh raha hai, pot bhi dikh raha hai. So you know that the mud is the cause. So even if it is not available as an object, Paramatma has to be accepted as existent. अगर वो दिख भी नहीं रहा है, फिर भी है तो है. ये तो मानना पड़ेगा ना. We have to accept that it is existent, as he is perceived as existence in the world also. So it is well known that an existent thing has an existent cause. कोई भी वस्तु है उसका कारण भी होगा. So here Yama Bhagwan is making Nachiketas aware that he should always accept the self as existence and never as non-existent. Never as non-existent. So Upanishads also state Brahman as the cause of the world. वहां लिखा ही है. So we accept Shruti, but we also have to logically understand. So that is why this whole process. Otherwise, technically, Shruti ने कह दिया हमें मान जाना चाहिए. That is the way. But we don't do that. So our whole process, our Upanishads, they explain everything. Everything is explained. So we encourage questioning. We don't say बोल दिया तो मान लो. If something you have said, you should accept. So we can't do it that way. So therefore, cause is inferred from the effect first. And once this is firmly known, then you have to do the unobjectification कि ये object नहीं है. It is not a thing to be perceived. So you have to do what you call the reverse. You have to do the subjectification कि उसको जानने वाला कौन है. Subject. I am the subject. So from that the subjectification. So don't enter to the negative part, because there is the process of what we call neti also. We discard all the objects as not Atma, not Atma, na iti. But na iti is very, very important in another sense. How? It means not, it does not mean just not, nahi manta. It not just this. It means not just, केवल यही नहीं है. ये सब कुछ ही आत्मा है. But केवल ये वस्तु आत्मा नहीं है. Right? So everything is Atma. So that is the real meaning of neti. So therefore, in the Buddhist system, they do this negation of worldly objects. So once they do this worldly object negation, first they accept the cause also as non-existent. They accept that there is no cause also. So that is called Shunyavad. So there is a Shunyavad theory there. So existence is seen everywhere in the world. So if the cause was non-existent, then everything would be perceived as not is. सब कुछ ये लगता कि ये नहीं है. But that is not happening, no? So that is not happening. So therefore we have to understand this cause as existent. Everything is in this way, in this cause is we have to take it as existent. So na esha tarken matirapnayo. So it is not to be understood by logic. It has to be understood in the form of existence. This Brahman is existent. So it cannot be empty. It cannot be shunya. That alone has to be our conclusion, right? So there are so many examples also given in the Shastras also, where they show that whenever we are talking about something that is non-existent, from that we can never derive. So what are the favorite examples, like Mrik Trishna? So it can never become the real water. That is an illusion. Or Vandhya Putra, they say. So Vandhya Putra is the son of a barren woman. So that is never a possibility. It's never going to happen. It is a non-existent thing, right? So therefore we have to understand that whatever is said in the verse, Neva Vacha na Manasa Praptum Shakya, this Brahman cannot be grasped by words. That is the Karmendriya, etc. And the Chakshusha is representing the Gyanendriya, and then na Manasa. So therefore How does it have to be grasped? Asti iti bruvataha. So this can only be understood by the one who who has the faith in that Nirguna Brahman. So here also in Gita also Bhagavan says Shraddhavan labate jnanam. So you have to have the Shraddha that this Atma exists. So therefore the Shraddhavan alone can gain this knowledge. So Asti iti bruvataha praptum shakyah represents this, that only the one who has this faith, जिसमें वो श्रद्धा है, वो ही इसको जान पाएगा. So therefore it is important for such a person. But what about the other person, the impatient person, or who doesn't have that open-mindedness? Katham tat uplabhyate. How can he ever open up to that Brahman? He will always be stuck in his ashraddha. Because he has never owned up to Brahman. So therefore this person can never be able to know this Brahma. So the 12th verse. So I think we don't have enough time to go start with another verse. So we'll wind up for today and then we'll continue in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om Bhaktat Sat.